So I'm down in the South Wales coast this morning, waiting for a client to have a look at a pond, and it's raining. And a lot of people say things like, "Oh, that's good for the oxygen," and kind of it is and it isn't. If you get heavy rainfall, it can cause sort of a high turnover of water. Quite often, the warm water in the surface is going to be warmer than the rainfall, and the displacement and the turnover of water means that, and also that the rain can carry with it a lot of nutrients. So those things combined, when you have a storm and a heavy lot of rainfall, it can change the temperature of the water, which leads to stress. I always say any sudden changes they don't like any sudden changes at all. And it can lead to rapid deoxygenation, actually. So although we desperately need the rain, we desperately need the water, places that are on a knife edge already with stocking densities and stuff like that, again, you need to be prepared. You have to have decent aeration, kick a lot of that water around, turn it over even more to mix it up, rather than let it happen just by the rain coming in. Because if you've got these layers of water, if the fish are already stressed and they're on the surface, the rain's going to be colder, which in itself is quite good, but when it turns it over and it's pushing more of that to the surface, it's that turnover of water that can be a problem in some cases. Obviously a lot of the time it's fine, and it always seems to be, not always, but a lot of the time it seems to be those sort of venues where you've got a high density of fish, or there's not a lot going on habitat wise. There's all these little things that add up to it. So yeah, it's not always the greatest thing when people say, "Oh yeah, we're all desperate for the rain," and a lot of the time it's fine. But sometimes when you get a heavy downpour after searing hot weather, it's that turnover, it's that sudden change which causes the problem. So all these things need to be factored in and considered. But like I keep saying, you've got to prep, you've got to get ready in the colder months when everything's tough and strong, pretty much, because we're having milder winters now. But when everything's safe to do so, it's like yesterday when we were doing fish rescue. We don't like handling fish in the summer, commercially anyway, simply because they're much more stressed. They're much more active. They're trying to feed. They've finished spawning and they're just trying to get food into them. And any extra stress is unnecessary, really. So and when you're fishing, it's the same thing. In the winter, the fish are tough and they're really strong, predominantly because they're not really doing a lot and there's always plenty more oxygen around. But when it's hot and everything's sort of trying to run at peak, and there's a huge demand for oxygen, and there's a huge demand, and the fish need food as well, so they're always looking for food. They're active and they're just nuts. When we're netting them, they just go nuts. So you've got to be, again, we're very well prepared. We've got more kit than we need, we've got more oxygen than we need, the tanks, everything's sorted and ready and clean. Even to move a few fish, like yesterday we moved 400 pound of fish out of a draining down pond of about 1.5 acres. They'd have died otherwise, no question. It's going to be hot again this weekend, plus this rainfall, and they were already losing them last week. So we've saved those and moved them to another pond next door. But all these things, it's frustrating when we turn up somewhere and they haven't done anything about it until now. And they say things like, "Oh, we tried to get an aerator." It's like, yeah, but you bought fish in the winter, so that money that you spent on those fish in the winter, you should have bought an aerator, or you should have been looking at your issues or getting surveys done or getting more information, rather than just going, "Oh, well, the anglers want us to buy more fish, let's buy more fish." Has that really helped? In a lot of situations, no. And the commercials will always bang more fish in because they've got like match weights they want to try and maintain. But we've proved time and time again, you don't need to do that. A combination of all these other things, and every water has its own requirements and needs, but as soon as you get in and get involved and get to see what is actually in that water, then you can see exactly what's going on. And a lot of things are transferable, so a lot of the information that will work for one will work for a lot, but not always. And that's where you've got to be a bit careful. It's the same with things like chalking and everything. The books will say you can put a ton an acre in when it comes to applying calcium carbonate, but a lot of places we go to could benefit from chalk applications, but there's no way I'd put a ton an acre in. And you don't know that until you're there. And it's about assessing silt, it's about assessing water quality, it's about assessing biomass, all those sort of things. Far more important than spending a few grand on fish. obviously with predation and with everything that's going on, there's loads of venues that need restocking. Totally not against that. There's loads and loads of quality places you can buy fish from. But recently I've seen people saying, oh, where can I buy koi from for my fishing lake? And I saw someone getting some bream delivered last week. They're not going to live. They're not survive. You can keep them alive. If you're moving them from A to B, you can keep them alive in cold water and oxygen. But if you're stocking them and expecting them to get through the next 3 months, I'd be surprised. Last year we netted a place where they said they had a bream delivery in July, and they were all dead by the end of September, October. So you've got to be sensible, and you've got to understand what's going on in your lake to get as broader an understanding as you possibly can, and get all your prep, all your stuff done in the winter. Get an aerator. Yeah, they're expensive if you a club who hasn't got any money, but a lot of these clubs that haven't got any money, it's because they've spent it on fish. A lot of them don't pay much rent on lakes, and again, I generalise, but everywhere's different. But once you get your head around a lot of these issues, you'll learn a lot more and have a much easier life. You're never going to please the anglers that are moaning, because if they're moaning about one thing now, even if you buy more fish, they won't be the right ones. We've had them stock all manner of circus fish, and then they're going, oh, we're catching too many of them now, we want something else. It's like you're never going to please those anglers, so it's a waste of time trying. Your job as a fishery manager or a fishery owner is to provide the facility where people can come and safely catch fish. Your job isn't to make them all catch loads of fish. That's their job, that's their skill. That's when you need to understand about fishing, not just expect tons of fish to be put in all these lakes so the anglers can catch them. Oh, but I can go down such and such and catch £100. Yeah, you might have done that once or twice when the conditions are right, but you can't cater for that. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable, and we see it all the time. And a lot of the places we go, the majority of the anglers are absolutely fine, and it's the few moaners and the few whingers that really stir the boat. And you think, well, you don't need those people there. They don't understand. They're not anglers. They're just people who expect unrealistic results a lot of the time. And everywhere has its day. If the conditions are right, the fishing can be great anywhere. But then it's these times, and this is going to get more and more apparent as time goes by, just because of the climate, really, and predation and all these other environmental factors that are occurring in front of our eyes, and it's happening very, very quick, even in my lifetime. So these are all things that are worth bearing in mind. So yeah, that's my morning rant done. I'll better go and meet the client now.